Welcome everyone to Spoiler Warning. Our top story tonight will be about the possibility of Bray Wyatt joining the Hall of Fame this year. We're going to give you an update on the Hall of Fame, how things are being put together, and what conversations are happening behind the scenes about Windham Rotunda. We're going to talk Alexa Bliss and her return, impending comeback, what changes to her personality and character are being planned, as well as how Ric Flair is trying to force himself into the booking for AEW, even though Tony Khan is not happy about it. Matt Hardy potentially leaving the AEW, a lack of interest from the WWE, a lack of interest from the WWE and Jeff Hardy, which is causing some problems as well. WWE seeking to trademark the ring name Shawn Spears. There are reports that Kazuchika Okada will be paid $14 million by AEW over the next 3 years. We're going to talk about that and the lack of interest from WWE, including one massive piece of fake news that became common knowledge. We're going to talk Mercedes Money, her impending debut, discuss what she did say in the interview which came out recently, and a little bit on the racism that's being experienced by Bianca Belair because she was on the cover of a game. Welcome everyone to the show. We will be going straight into our first piece of news. Be sure to hit like as we do. Be sure to react. Be sure to say hi to everyone you can. I appreciate everyone saying hi to me, but remember, if you recognize people in here, be sure to say hi to each other as well. That really boosts the chat rate and get things going. And the more likes we get, the more people immediately will join the fray. Always a good thing for the growth of the channel. So let's get started. No point holding back. Let's dive into the possibility of Bray Wyatt being in the Hall of Fame before WrestleMania this year. The Hall of Fame, as it currently stands, features Paul Heyman, Bull Nakano, and the US Express, which is Mike Rotunda and Barry Windham. Those are the father and uncle of Bray Wyatt, also known as Windham Rotunda. Several names are yet to be announced, leaving the overall possibility that there is room for a posthumous induction of Bray Wyatt. Specialist gear is said to be being made. Here's your exclusive, this is what you sign up for a number of wrestlers in honor of Bray Wyatt, though we don't know for certain this is for the Hall of Fame. A number of wrestlers are looking to essentially celebrate the man come WrestleMania time, regardless of the situation. Now, Triple H does want to make sure that Wyatt is honoured, as there was said to be a close connection between the two of them, and a number of WWE employees have been very open about wanting to make this happen. We're not in the situation whereby people are knocking Triple H's door down, but certainly he's had a lot of people sticking their neck in and saying, you know who'd be great in the Hall of Fame? He is listening. It just doesn't guarantee anything because there's quite a few people to talk to. Those discussions are taking place. One of those discussions was with Windham Rotunda's father, which is how we ended up in a situation whereby Windham Rotunda's father, IRS, Irwin I. Shyster, is being inducted into the Hall of Fame, possibly instead of, possibly as well as, we'll have to wait and see. Working against the argument that we are going to see Windham Rotunda, Bray Wyatt brought into the Hall of Fame is the continual insistence from WWE sources that the top name, the first ballot to go into the Hall of Fame this year will be Paul Heyman, though that could easily be a bit of a smokescreen. There is nothing to suggest that we won't have both Paul Heyman as the top ballot and Bray Wyatt inducted. After all, he cannot give his own speech, so it wouldn't take that much time to make it happen. A number of wrestlers are genuinely interested and genuinely excited about the possibility of Bray Wyatt being inducted, no less so than Braun Strowman, who's vocalized his preferences, and of course Alexa Bliss, as I did just mention as well. We will get to the Alexa Bliss news in just a moment, but let's catch up with the chat and make sure that we haven't missed everything. Welcome everyone who's jumped in already. Always nice to see so many of you chatting away. Who wants to say, Tom, just 4 days away from Mercedes Money's debut, already talking about one day WWE return. Not sure how that will sit with with TK. More on that shortly. Welcome Daniel Berry. Welcome Age Car as well. Welcome Marcel. Welcome Khalid. Welcome Richard. I am talking about that as we speak as to who may well be inducted. So we'll talk about that more as we get to it. Spiderboss says, nice to see the women's division supporting Bianca. More on that shortly. Michael says, hi Tom. Hello Michael. And Spiderboss says, good interview with Mercedes Money on the Kick Rocks podcast. Glad Mercedes explained why she left WWE. Bailey is here as well saying, hello Tom. Okay, let's just catch up. Spiderboss saying, seems Simon Guevara hasn't changed. That's a very, very bold statement, I'll say that. Brad says, how is everyone? I personally can only say that I'm doing absolutely fantastic. Let me know if anyone is different and we'll try and cheer you up. Andrew says, hello Tom, hope you had a great week so far. Also great news of Edwards coming back to LFC. That's football, so I appreciate what you're saying, but I will not be diving into football this time. Thank you for renewing your membership, Pete, for a 15th month. I very much appreciate your continued support of the channel as a channel supporter. Eric says, what is your opinion on the backlash to Bianca getting the cover? More on that later. We do have something about that incoming. Sean says, hi Tom. Hello Sean. HCar says, Kenny Omega was fired by WWE, reported by Fightful and Sportskeeda on Ringside. I guarantee you, HCar, that did not happen, because first and foremost, Kenny Omega is not signed with the WWE. How could he be fired? Also reported by Fightful and Sportskeeda and Ringside is unlikely. There would be one source and other people confirming it. Sean says, I'm ready to hear the Alexa Bliss news. It is incoming, don't you worry. Eric, you're asking me to basically tell you what's going to happen if something happens. I can't tell you if that thing will happen, so I can't tell you what will happen if that thing happens. Aled says, Tom, the short about becoming The Rock was amazing. We need more. We'll see, Aled. We'll see. A lot more incoming on that one. A lot more incoming. A bit later on that. Chris says, good evening Tom, here listening while I prep for a 2K24 stream later tonight. I have no idea and no issue with anyone pushing streams that they're doing, as long as it's like a once and then you move on, particularly if it's, you know, like Chris, you're genuinely involved in the chat here, you know, you're genuinely involved, so there's no issue with stuff like that. AHCar, he has not been fired by AEW. That has absolutely not happened. I don't know where you're getting this from, but I promise you it's not Fightful. So I tell you that. Khalid will be crying if Bray Wyatt goes into Hall of Fame because he won great titles. Personally, I'm more about the character. Dominic, I am not having a watch party. The SmackDown watch parties are still on hiatus. I need some sleep. I'm getting older, and it's kind of working out for me. Yes, one. Kevin Kelly was indeed fired. Dan just says yes, yes. I don't know what to, but he says yes, yes. Leon says, hi Tom, hope you're doing well. Doing very well, thank you Leon. Welcome to this show. Sean says, Bria said her match with Charlotte was phenomenal, but was lacking in story and build-up. I agree with that. Selvig says, hello Tom, hope you're doing well. Want to ask why WWE tried to add women's tag title match on Mania 40. They are trying to rebuild the tag division of both the men's and the women's. They need to actually focus on the fact that there is a women's tag team division. You might as well take advantage of that. Aled says, Fightful reported The Rock had some big input on this year's Hall of Fame. Is that true? Did they report that? Did they? I mean, I don't doubt you, Aled. Like, there are some people in here who say, this person reported this, and I don't believe them, but you do check your stuff. Huh. I don't see that in the choices. Smurfy Tunes says, hello there, Tom. How are you? And hope you're doing well. Well, you'll be glad to hear. I'm doing well. Thank you, mate. When is that thing? What thing is that, Pete? Ellis says, anyone else notice that Rock's L also looks like Solo's thumb? Remember, Solo was sent by the Elders. We're getting into Mulan territory now. I don't necessarily think that Mushu is Solo. Though Solo could be Mushu. Two things could be true. Jordan says, good evening, Tom and chat. Windham Rotunda, we miss you, man. Would be a special moment for Bray to be inducted in the same class as his dad and uncle. Roger says, my favourite move is the something. Tyler Driver? I'm not familiar with that one. Khalid says, I've got my 2K24, having a great time playing it. For those who have got 2K24, is it any good? Is it any good? Thank you, Aled. I appreciate that. That's very helpful. Brad says Kenny Omega was fired by the Elite, but still in AEW, which is 100% true. Don't know what's going on there, gotta be honest. Very confused. Spider-Boss says, do you know when Jeff Hardy's AEW contract expires? More on that shortly. King Alder says, hey Tom, would you like if Cody loses, but if it's storyline based? Would I like if something makes sense? Yes. Yes, I would. Jalen says, Liv and Nia to be added to Becky vs. Rhea to make it a four-way. That's not happening. That's not going to happen. The reason they're doing this is the idea that Becky taking her eye off the ball, so she's not a fitting competitor to Rhea. We are likely to get a rematch between Becky and Rhea around around SummerSlam time. Becky is likely to take a hiatus. They're planning for all eventualities. And also, Becky wants to help elevate Nia and Liv Morgan. I mentioned in the Fun Fact Thursday video about Becky Lynch that she's technically Nia Jax's biggest fan. LF says, I'd love to see Chyna go into the Hall of Fame since this is Triple H's first year doing it. Long overdue, and she was such a trailblazer, which I agree with. Smurf says, it's very solid in my opinion. I mainly play my GM mode. Fair enough. Sovik says, it's great, better than 2K23 and 22, but it feels more polished, like a more polished 2K22. Bailey says, how many matches will each day of Mania feature? Will there be any pre-show matches to fit in the tag teams? Likely 8 matches night 1, 7 matches night 2 because of the half-hour block system that Triple H likes, and the main event will go over that. There will likely be pre-show matches for overspill of that as well. Rizal will get to Okada's debut. Chris says, very much addicted to 2K24. Shut it off like an hour ago and I'm already looking forward to playing it again. Well, if you'd like to keep playing it while watching Spoiler Warning, that's an option. We, after all, can be enjoyed as a podcast. Spider-Boss says, who do you think really has a chance of beating Rhea? Becky, Bianca, Charlotte, Bayley, Io Sky, basically anyone who's booked to do so. Dan says, do you think Randy and Kevin versus Logan Paul in a triple threat? I think that's possible. Yes, I'd lean in that direction. Sean, it's not quite there yet, I got to be honest. I know I said to you it was going to be made. I didn't get around to doing it. I've got all the script written up. I just didn't get around to recording it. I do apologise. Andrew says, any news on a Wyatt project being made by WWE? No news that I have. Age Car, they are still talking about the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. Yes. And Alex says, I really hope Bianca makes the Mania card. We're about to get into our second piece of news. That is about Alexa Bliss. If you want more people to see this news and if you want to help the channel grow, be sure that you've hit like. We currently have 26 likes, but 66 people here, meaning 40 people at least are watching who've not yet hit like. It makes a massive difference and I'd very much appreciate it. Also, as we're about to go into this piece of news, let's boost the chat rate. The news about Alexa Bliss, are you excited to see her return? Simple yes or no, go into as much detail as you want. Are you excited for the return of Alexa Bliss? Because guys, it's coming. It is coming. Alexa Bliss is actively preparing for a comeback. I'm told she's been working out for a number of weeks now, getting prepared for a return to the WWE, though some in the WWE still say that they'll believe it when they see it. I did mention a couple of weeks previous that there was a thought that she may not return. Clearly, that is something that has changed in the weeks ahead. I do every now and then report something based on what I know, knowing that someone will see it and then come back to me with more information. It's called journalistic chicken. It's one of my favourite things in the world to do, just so you know on that one. Alexa Bliss has been open about the fact that she has commissioned a new jacket to be made. A lot of this is in honour of Bray Wyatt. More on that as it comes. She's also made contact with the WWE to announce her intent to return. The entire time that she's been off, WWE Talent Relations has been reaching out every couple of months to check in with her, see how she's doing, see how she's feeling, and without putting pressure on her to return, ask if there's any possibility that she's ready as of yet. The WWE creative team have got the thumbs up and they are interested in getting things rolling. There is no storyline being written for Alexa Bliss as of yet, but it's believed that it's going to be another couple of months before Bliss returns. It could be that she returns in a mainly speaking role after WrestleMania. Personally, I think we'll be looking more around the SummerSlam time before we see an actual return for Alexa Bliss. We also won't see the same Alexa Bliss. There's going to be some changes to the character that we need to be picking up on. She has specifically requested the incorporation of darker parts of the character, similar to what was originally her character and gimmick when she was working with Bray Wyatt. She's asking if she can finish the story on Bray Wyatt's behalf, or at least represent him. Now, there are a number of sources telling me that one, at least that is what I'm hearing, but when you look at the jacket and look at the designs, it doesn't surprise us. She's intentionally meaning to reference the version of herself that was scripted by Bray Wyatt, particularly the swamp fight, rather than the darker element that would work pretty well in the Thunderdome era because of a lot of costume changes. They are not planning a lot of non-stop costume changes. What they are planning essentially is just a darker element that comes with a little bit of the playground once again. Rob Fee, newly crowned head of character development, is apparently involved in producing the new style and making it work for WWE TV. Alexa Bliss on the way back. Then says there's been too many patches and fix-up. Oh, there's been 3 patch fixes to updates on 2K24. They're trying to fix things as quickly as they're having problems with it. King Azza says, Tom, do you think there'll be tension between The Rock and Roman tonight on SmackDown? There'll always be a little bit. Yes. Bailey, as regards Alexa Bliss, just says yes. Spider-Boss says, looking how strongly WWE book Rhea, I think only Jade Cargill and Bianca has a chance of beating Rhea. Bianca is the name that I've mentioned previously. Brad says, hell yes. Aled says, yeah, I've missed Alexa Bliss. Jalen says, absolutely. David says yes. Sovik says yes, but I'm worried she'll be lost in the shuffle. I don't think she'll be in at the same level as a Rhea Ripley, as a Bianca Belair, as a Jade Cargill, as a Becky Lynch. I think she will have lost a little ground, unfortunately. I also think she'd do really well in the tag division right now and really well helping other people develop. This would be a great time for her to come back with a bit less pressure and give back before then moving back up when we have someone like a Liv Morgan as champion. Imagine Liv Morgan, this Liv Morgan, versus Dark Alexa Bliss. I'm excited. Khaled says, I miss her so much. Razar says, yes, I like Alexa. Sean is excited to see her back and wants her to feud with Rhea. I can certainly see that working. Rhea, after all, has eliminated her from a Royal Rumble in the past. DM says, I think Priest could cash in on Gunter. They've been teasing it for a few weeks now. That's to take your eye off the fact that he's likely to cash in at WrestleMania. Juan says, yes. Hcast says, definitely yes. I'm a massive Alexa Bliss fan. Spider-Boss says, I'd love to see Alexa. Now, I don't see her winning titles again. Her prime has gone a while ago. Her prime has not gone. That is absolutely, categorically not true. She still has many years left at the top of the game. What I will say is that I don't think the WWE will be offering her too many championship runs. Leon says, do you think we'll see anything sponsorship related, such as a Battle Royal like at SummerSlam, or just sponsorship logos around the barricades and ring? Yes, I do, and I do think that'll be great for a pre-show. Andrew says, yes, she was fantastic when she worked with Bray. I think it's cool they're making her own jacket as a tribute to Bray. Not as a tribute, it's going to incorporate some elements. It's not 100% a tribute. HCast says, any news on Carmella returning soon? I've shared what I can. Carmella has been seen backstage quite often recently in the WWE, certainly more often than Alexa Bliss. HCast says, any news on Carmella? I've already read that one. Edward also asked about Carmella. Sean says, do you think Alexa will be a part of the draft? Nope, that is way too soon for her. Eric says, I have an interesting way to get Liv on the Mania card without having to be added or do anything with the tag title. She attacks the winner of Rhea and Becky. Thank you for the Joker voice for the idea. DM says, the best WrestleMania you ever watched? I actually really enjoyed 34. I genuinely did. That said, they've had a really good couple of years lately. Roger says, I'm not looking forward to Alexa Bliss' return, have no interest in her, don't think she's a good wrestler. WrestleBuzz says, I wouldn't mind WWE doing a White Rabbit-esque return for Bliss in honour of Bray. There's an issue with that, and this is going to sound ridiculous, but bear with me, and you're going to believe me the second I say it. There are people out there who would genuinely believe that Bray Wyatt dying is a work, and the White Rabbit is the WWE planning to bring him back. So they can't do that. Andrew says, any chance Uncle Howdy works with Alexa Bliss? Very unlikely. Not impossible. Eric says, will Lily come back too? Yes, not necessarily as a character in its own right, but Lily will be incorporated into the character. Evil Mike says, I'd rather her just be a mouthpiece for Andrade. You got Zelina Vega right there. Why would you take that away from her? Alan says, I know you said a few weeks ago Carmella will be back soon. Do you think it's going to be after WrestleMania? Yeah, WWE aren't going to bring people back if they're not going to appear on the show. Evening, Si. How you doing, mate? Dan says, when do you think we'll see Jade and... Pardon me. When do you think we'll see Jade on Raw or SmackDown? Tonight and on SmackDown. Richard says, hello, Tom. Could Sammy be added to Seth and Drew? Nope. Roger says, I'm liking AEW and TNA's women's division better than WWE women's roster. Hope you enjoy it. One says, hey, Tom, according to WrestleTalk, Mercedes Money has 7k tickets. No, she doesn't. AEW has sold 7k tickets for big business. Mercedes Money is not the only person on that. Spider-Boss says, Dark Alexa would be a perfect tag team partner for Liv Morgan. I personally would once again go feud, but I see what you're going for. Steve says, can you explain why AEW wouldn't put the books over this past Sunday? Seems like more lazy booking from Jacksonville. Many reasons. Because they were about to get reheated with the arrival of Kazuchika Okada. And if you're about to be reheated, you can afford a loss and build someone else. Bailey says, any news about a women's mid-card title? Yes, they've got one. The tag team titles. Alex said, WrestleMania, I don't believe they have sources. They do not. but they said today that Minnesota is a favourite to host Mania 41, so they will undoubtedly be sourcing that from someone else. Slovak says it's tonight's finally Jade signs for a brand. I find that unlikely. I don't personally think she signs for a brand before Mania, and then after Mania she does sign. Sean says, who do you think wins the Gauntlet match to challenge Gunther at WrestleMania? I'm going Sami Zayn, though I do think Chad Gable is in of a shout and they need to find a way to get him involved with that too. That would make me a very happy boy. We have a little bit on Ric Flair and Sting coming up next. We have 78 people watching, 34 likes. Please be sure to hit like if you haven't already. So let's get the chat rate going. You're going to love this question. Also, more importantly, you're going to hate this question. Ric Flair wanted to be a lot more involved in Sting's final match. How would you feel if Sting's final match was a one-on-one against Ric Flair? Okay, tell me that while I dive in to the news. Ric Flair is said to have spoken to Tony Khan directly on several occasions, attempting to be more involved in Sting's retirement match, and even at one point pitching that Sting's final match should be one-on-one with Flair himself. Nobody else agreed. This is not a case of Bryan Danielson stepping in and preventing Tony Khan from making a huge mistake, which he has done in the past. Nobody, including Tony Khan, agreed with this. Khan is apparently none too thrilled with his investment in Flair and none too thrilled with the overall performances of Ric Flair. He's apparently been quite detrimental backstage as well. There is particular upset now that Andrade has left the company. Now, I've been told a number of times now that he would probably, Tony Khan, go back and not sign Ric Flair if he could. Which doesn't necessarily seem extreme, seems pretty much par for the course and exactly what I'd expect when it comes to Ric Flair. Ric Flair was trying to convince Tony Khan that the best option for Sting's final match was a one-on-one with Ric Flair himself. How would you feel about that? Let's see what people have said. Pete just says, God, not Flair. God would be a great final match for Sting. That's a very fair point, Pete. Bailey says, no more Flair. Marcel says, no. Brad says, dear God, no. Spiderboss says, do you think Bailey could get some help for the fight against Damage Control, or Bailey is one versus all? Jade Cargill has certainly been teased as involved in that. Slovak says that would be horrible. I agree. Moxie says Sami Zayn's chase for Gunther should be the World Heavyweight Championship when Gunther is the champion. There is no possibility of Sami Zayn competing for the World Heavyweight Championship right now. Would you rather he didn't compete at all? Genuine question. Would you rather he wasn't involved at WrestleMania, or would you rather he lost the Intercontinental Championship match? Genuine question. Sai says Flair's embarrassing himself. He doesn't need to embarrass Sting too. Michael says Ric Flair causing issues backstage. I'm shocked. Hector says, afternoon, Tom. Is it just me or did Okada's debut not seem as big as it should have been considering he's freaking Okada? Plus he's been on AEW TV prior, so it didn't seem as special. We've got more on Kazuchika Okada incoming. Spiderboss says, I'm not interested in seeing Ric Flair in the ring again. Ric Flair getting physical on Sting's last match was unnecessary. Sean says, is Jade going to have a match in WWE and who she's going to face? Yes, several. She's been contracted for several matches and she's going to face a variety of opponents. Moxie says, Sami wins next year's Royal Rumble, challenges Gunther at next year's WrestleMania, Zayn wins there. That's just me fantasy booking. So to be clear, Moxie, what you're saying is Sami Zayn isn't involved in anything until next year's Royal Rumble. David just goes, absolutely not. 80 says, definitely no. Flair should not face Sting because Flair needs a well-deserved break from wrestling. Kelly says, can't wait to see Cody Roman face-to-face with Rock Roman. Do you mean Cody Seth, mate? DM says, I just rewatched WrestleMania 19, one of the best I've ever seen. Shawn Michaels versus Chris Jericho, Stone Cold versus The Rock, Kurt versus Brock, all were bangers. I hope WrestleMania 40 will deliver. Juan says, I'm glad TK said no because according to you back in October, Ric Flair nearly cost AEW from signing Mercedes money. I remembered you reported it. You weren't happy. I wasn't happy. And Ric Flair wasn't necessarily the reason. He came in at the same time as something changed. In October, I was reporting something had changed. It was that the WWE were back in for Mercedes money, which came a little bit later via the paywalls. And then reported with no paywalls by me. Sean says, I meant is Jade going to have a match at Mania? I've reported several times on it. I find it likely. Sean says, do you see Becky defeating Liv or does Liv go over? I see Nia Jax getting involved and beating up both of them. Ray says, I want to try Woo Energy drinks. Has anyone tried Woo Energy? Let's not say Woo Energy too many times though, because I've got to commit to that bit now. DM says Sting versus Rick. No thanks. We don't need Rick dead in the ring. Thank God it did not happen. And Spider-Boss says my favourite WrestleMania was Mania 38. Boss and Glow winning the tag team titles and Roman as undisputed champion. Sean asks who she's going to face. Sean, I've laid this out so many times now. Exactly who I think she's going to face. It's not been finalised as of yet. Khalid says hope Sting enjoys his retirement. Pete says I watched when he tried to sword the Bucks, threw a punch and the Young Bucks went for a meal, had a sleep, then came back for the punch to land. That is an extreme allegory right there. So Vic says you're saying fatal 4-way for women's world title match at Mania 40. Nope, in no way have I said that. That is not even close to what I've said. Hector says if Tony Khan is having regrets about signing Flair, that's on him. If he didn't know about Rick's past and how he's acted historically, then that's bad business. Yeah. Yep. Eric says Sting versus Darby with Darby going over. Sting's done, mate. Sting has retired. Sting had a retirement match. There is no last match. Sean says who faces Kabuki Warriors at Mania? You'll find out very soon, because Mania's very soon. If you want all the matches that I think are likely, I released a PLE Wednesday video on it. Sean, it's a week ago. By all means, go back to the main channel. Scroll down a little bit. You'll get to the PLE Wednesday playlist. It's right there for you. Moxie said, I would have Zayn for Mania but not for the IC title. Would have Zayn face someone like Bronson Reed or Omos, someone that makes Zayn look like a big underdog, or a triple threat for the IC title. So you still want him competing for the IC title. Spider-Bot says, not a fan of the Young Bucks, but I liked when the Bucks gave a super kick to Flair. Alex said, is Sting sticking around to work backstage at AEW? Work is not the right word for it, but he will still be available at times. Undertaker versus John Cena was good, Khalid. I really like John Cena in the crowd. That was an amazing time. I got more than 1 million hits on that tweet. That was good times. Very good times. Right, let's see, because our next piece of news. We have 38 likes, so more. 2 more gets us to 40. We are talking Matt and Jeff Hardy. We're talking their position in AEW. The question, quite simply, do you believe Matt and Jeff Hardy would add anything to the WWE if they returned now? Okay, that's the question. Dive on in while I read out the news. Matt Hardy has confirmed publicly that he is on his way out of AEW unless a mammoth late bid comes in. And personally, I believe this may have been an intentional leak in order to sort of force AEW's hand to either offer something or let him go properly. Matt Hardy has been injured several times in AEW, at times some pretty serious injuries, and has been openly unhappy with his lot there. He's not exactly been a quiet one. Typically he's been a company guy, but his social media is kind of full of him very unhappy. Now, there are some in WWE that believe he'll make a return to the WWE, but the WWE themselves and Triple H are not believed to be too interested in bringing Matt Hardy back. A large part of this is that Jeff Hardy undoubtedly wants to follow. Jeff Hardy's arrival in AEW was reported about a year before he even left WWE by yours truly, and I can say with confidence now that he is not happy in AEW. Unfortunately for him, he burned his bridges, and he burned them hard. The WWE do not want Jeff Hardy back after he forced his way out to go and join his brother. His contract also extends a significant period longer than Matt Hardy's because of the injuries that he's had, and this also pretty much guarantees that his injury at the moment will keep him even longer in AEW. I suspect he may be looking to do exactly what he did in WWE and force his way out if he's not able to go. It is believed by a number of people I've spoken to in both companies that wherever Matt Hardy is, Jeff Hardy needs to follow, just essentially as a support network and a coping mechanism. I cannot blame him for that. It is working against them. The WWE are not believed to be happy with the idea, and they're not believed to be interested in bringing the Hardys back. P says, I can see some of the audience got hit from the glass Darby landed on. Incoming legal, maybe. Very unlikely. Very unlikely. Sean, I don't know. There'll be a draft between now and then for me. Eric, so you're telling me you'd have 2 different final matches for Sting. You realise what you're saying, right? Vane says, what's your favourite version of Sting? Crow. All the way, Crow. It's a great time to be a wrestling fan. So Vic says, as regards the Hardys, no, because I don't think Triple H or The Rock would be interested to bring them back, and they have no value in 2024. The other Mike says, only for nostalgia and for the WWE, that's all they need, to be honest. DM says, Ric Flair ruined his retirement big time, should have never wrestled after WrestleMania 24. Alex says, I do think the Hardys would be a good fit for WWE to help rebuild the tag division, but not winning the tag titles. I genuinely don't. Imagine the Hardys versus DIY. Don't fit for me. Michael says the Hardys can retire. Spider-Boss says, I'm not interested in seeing the Hardys in WWE, especially after how Jeff left WWE last time. I suspect if they're going anywhere, it would be TNA. Sai says, Triple H doesn't seem big on nostalgia. I can't see the Hardys back. Eric says, when does their contracts end? I've given you all the information I can right then and there. Edward says, the Hardys can come back for a Hall of Fame induction. That's it. They do deserve that induction, guaranteed. Ray says, I want to see Broken Matt return. Best gimmick ever. Never got it. Didn't understand it. Didn't like it. Brad says, absolutely not interested in the Hardys in WWE. DM says, Seth versus Drew opening night 2 of WrestleMania. I've reported what I've reported, and WWE have reported what they've reported. Age Car says, definitely Matt and Jeff should definitely come back to WWE. Matt and Jeff win tag team champions and become future WWE Hall of Famers. If they win the championships, who they're going to work with and how they're going to get great matches. Jack says they have nothing to offer WWE now. Razar says, I don't want to see the Hardys back in WWE. Maybe a Hall of Fame induction, but that's it. I agree with that. Bailey says, it appears Ric Flair wants another last match. Would Tony Khan book this? If he believes there is interest in it, yes. So no. Sean says, would WWE let the Hardys come back for a Hall of Fame induction? Yes. Hector says, Hardys to TNA could be interesting. Wouldn't want them in WWE, but TNA could be something else. Zane, if I want someone to scissor me, I'll tell them to scissor me. I say what I want. Sean says, speaking of Hall of Famers, have been anyone that has denied an induction? Yes. This year, not that I'm aware of, but yes. Previously, I've mentioned Chris Jericho denied inductions. Jeff Hardy was contacted recently and refused to be inducted. Naturally, Paul Heyman. Michael says, Broken Matt was so over, but I never got it either. And Spider-Boss says, Drew delivering a Claymore on Seth was well done. Drew keeps saying focus on me, not on the bloodline. Yeah, so Seth's distracted on 2 fronts. He should be focusing on Drew McIntyre, but he should actually be focusing on Damian Priest. Chris says, I love all versions of Sting. The first Sting match I remember watching was him versus Flair as the first Clash of Champions in a 45-minute draw. DM says, good idea, they make WrestleMania 2 night. WrestleMania 35 went for too long. Fans were dead for most of the show. Yet committing full time to WrestleMania being 2 nights instead of 1 was one of the best choices the WWE have ever made. Before I get to my next piece of news, which will be on Shawn Spears, formerly known as Ty Dillinger, I want to talk briefly about where I am on my YouTube journey. It'll only be a minute or so. I want to give everyone an update, as we're getting into the year, of my progress towards full time. Now, we are still on target. I will need to up my shorts quota a little bit, but we are still on target to hit the 1 million by the end of the year. Things are going very well in that regard. When it comes to being full time, if I hit 1 million views by the end of the year, I will then be around 10% to full time. Okay? About 1 million views is 10% to full time. But shorts views, financially, are worth a hell of a lot less. So it doesn't quite balance out. At the moment, I'm about 8% of the way to being able to be full time as a YouTuber. I naturally, if I do go full time, will have different channels doing different things. I'll have a gaming channel, I'll have a football channel. I'll be devoting about 15 hours to each one. At the moment, I devote about 5-10 hours. So I would be upping the time on this channel as well as launching other channels. But at the moment, about 8% of the way to full time. I want to say a big thank you to everyone who does watch the ads, everyone who doesn't hit that skip immediately, everyone who chats, everyone who hits like, and everyone who donates financially. I want to say a massive thank you, particularly to all of the channel members at the moment. Those numbers continue to slowly go up. And as those numbers go up, it massively increases the likelihood that we can start doing the members-only live streams where you'll get a bit more in-depth coverage and you can ask questions and I'll have a bit more speculation and fun. So I just wanted to give an update on that. Next up is the Shawn Spears news. The other Mike says, who inducts the Hardys, the Dudleys or Edge and Christian? Quite possibly both. You should definitely make that happen. Michael enjoyed Okada's debut. Spider-Boss says, never got broken Matt Hardy, always been a fan of Jeff Hardy. Sean says, if Logan faces Randy at WrestleMania for the US title, would Randy win? If he's booked to, yes. Roger says, do you think Tony Pizza Guy is a good YouTuber? Never heard of him. H. Carr says, Tom, do you think WWE will induct Demolition to the Hall of Fame? Demolition was the longest tag team champions before New Day broke their records. Nope, they've already announced the tag team that they're inducting this year. Khalid says, Crow Sting was the best ever. I enjoyed when he debuted on Survivor Series 2014 when he attacked Triple H. Carlos Colon says, was Mercedes Money ever going to be in Bayley's storyline if she ever signed with WWE? Having Bayley needed a friend seems like a perfect surprise Mercedes re-debut. There were pitches made, but there was no actual creative put together for a Sasha Banks return. Sean says, if you go full-time, will the Twitch channel go away? Nope. That's not the intention. Though, as you're all aware, it is more valuable to me if you're on YouTube watching. However, there is a reason I still have Twitch. It's not about me. It's also about you. And if you prefer Twitch, I want to have that option available for you. Hector says it's such good storytelling that Seth is most likely going to lose to Drew the same way Drew has lost to Seth every time by beating himself and not focusing on his opponent. Khalid says you can do this. Thank you, Khalid. DM says after the way Jeff left, did not learn from his mistakes, no interest is seen in him back to WWE. KJ says, what's up, Tom? Bias towards Jeff, I'd like one last run. Spider-Boss says, do you think LA Knight's moment is gone? I don't think LA Knight's moment ever came. Solvik says, I know you got this question before. After Cassie and Jesse, the Iconics recover well. Would they be open to coming back in WWE? I've not been able to get a source directly that close to them, but I know that the WWE themselves are very interested in bringing them back. Alex says the Mercedes interview was good. I don't get why people are freaking out when she said she'll be back in WWE one day, because I think most people knew that anyway. Because, Aled, most people didn't know that. Most people didn't know that. You knew that because you watched Spoiler Warning. The WWE are seeking to trademark the ring name Shawn Spears for their former Ty Dillinger. Their reasoning is quite simple, little bit malicious. AEW would then have to pay the WWE for anything involving use of Shawn Spears, including any long-term content. If, for example, they move on to a streaming network, they would have to pay the WWE every time somebody watches a show which features Shawn Spears or mention of Shawn Spears. It's carny tactics. It's also a very effective tactic. Now, Spears is said to have been extremely unhappy in AEW and not at all upset with this tactic. He's very glad to be out, and he is one of many whom, including the Hardys, want out and wanted back to the WWE. There are no main roster plans for Shawn Spears at this moment in time. He is aware of that, and apparently is completely fine with it. He's just happy to be back and involved, and he's working a little more on the production side and the road agent side than just wrestling in NXT. Next up is a bit of a life update. Carlos says The Rock is a 10-minute promo on social media why he isn't full of shit from accuser Rollins. Spider-Boss said I'd love to see Mickey James in the Hall of Fame. I'd imagine one day you'll get your wish. Today is not that day, unfortunately. Eric says we'd love to see someone like Taz induct Paul Heyman. LF says, do you see Naomi having any involvement with the bloodline? Nope, at this point in time I don't believe she's interested in doing that. Sean says, thing is, would AEW pay them? Yes. KJ says people wonder why WWE owns everything. Carney tactics, they know what they're doing. Good way of putting it, KJ. Selfish, but smart. So next up we'll be talking about Kazuchika Okada, but there's one thing I just want to cover first. Quick life update. I'm viewing a house on Thursday. I'm viewing a house which I would own, that I would buy, that I would be using as future-proofing, because I'd be buying it with an intention of finally living with my partner and her 2 children. That's the intention, that's the plan. But that's a long-term plan. I would essentially be buying a quite large house just for myself to start with. Because, you know, I don't want to force their hand. I don't want to force them to do anything. They might not be ready for it. We'll have to wait and see. But I'd imagine they still spend quite a bit of time there. We'd make that a regular thing. I want them to feel like my home is their home. I have spotted a house which at the moment I can afford, which is rare, okay? I have a decent day job. a decent day job that I'm very happy with. I don't make a lot of money from this. You guys know this. It's a labour of love, but I do make some money, and that's a very big thing. In fact, YouTube is how I've saved my deposit. Okay? This channel has made this happen. I'm 35. I've never come close to owning a house. The UK is in recession. We're in decline. The entire economy is basically just collapsing in on itself. I never thought this day would come. Thank you. Every ad, every like, every comment. You're making this happen. Thank you. We're not there yet. Still at the viewing stage. If I like it, I'll put a bid in. We'll see where we go from there. But I'm a happy boy. Things are going well. What can I say? Ooh, okay. DM says, I never want to wish anyone bad luck, but it's a good thing Triple H got injured in 2007 because the WrestleMania 23 plan was a rematch of Triple H and Cena instead of Shawn versus John Cena. I'll have to take your word for that one. I wasn't watching at the time. Spider-Boss says, for me, WWE signing Jade Cargill was just to rub it in Tony Khan's face. It really wasn't. Ed's excited, says yes, house. Eric said Okada is now the highest paid wrestler in AEW, which he isn't. John Moxley remains the highest paid wrestler in AEW. Sovik says, congrats Tom, you deserve this. Thank you, Sovik. Noob says hello. Hello, Noob. Alice says The Rock has put another promo out on Twitter. Eric says, congratulations, Tom. Ed says, imagine telling you this a few years ago when monetization started. So proud of you, buddy. Thank you, Ed. We started this channel 3 years ago, and that first year was hell. Many of you are here who would remember it. The post-it. That was the dark times. That was Darkest Timeline. That fucking post-it. Many of you will not know what I'm referring to. I'm okay with that. I put a post-it up there to remind me that I was not having the worst day of my life and that I would be able to survive it. That's how bad things got at times. I didn't hide it. I was open about it. Now, 3 years later, I might be buying a house. You have no idea how important all of you are to turning that around. I'm looking at you particular, Ed, as well, by the way. HCar says, do you think Undertaker will show up at Mania? Yep, he'll be backstage for most of it. Khalid says, congratulations, Tom, my friend. You deserve the house. Thank you. KJ says, hopefully you guys get through. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. Spider-Boss says, does Mercedes Money get any money just for WWE uploading her WrestleMania match against Bianca? No, she doesn't own the match. She also doesn't own the name Sasha Banks, by the way. The other Mike says, congrats. Michael says, congrats as well. Bought my first house 2 years ago. Still blows my mind that I own one. You'll feel the same way. I'm excited for it, mate. I'm excited for it. Razaz says, so happy for you, Tom. Keep grinding and doing well. You deserve it, and congrats. Thank you. HCar says, congrats, Tom. You deserve the house. Bailey says, will the new house have a studio for all these channels? Yes, it will. So that's part of what I'm looking for, particularly if it's just going to be me. I have the office right now, which is essentially half of a spare bedroom. I literally have my wardrobe there that I get dressed in the morning. So it's a walk-in wardrobe, and then you've got to sort of squeeze in between a desk and a radiator to come round. It's not a big room. Okay, it's not a big room. If we can improve on that, I'll be a happy boy. So yeah, I'd like to go a bit more studio. My intention is eventually to make this a family business. To have my children involved in the editing so I can, pay them. And, take some of the slack off me as well. I'm excited for that, the concept. Sean says, you're a good man, Tom. You deserve this happy moment. Thank you. I appreciate that. Spider-Boss says, whose house? Tom's house. Andrew says, congratulations, Tom. You deserve it. Also, I know you've been reporting Cena Mania stuff. Does WWE have a plan for him for Mania 40? They are still in the discussion phase. There is no confirmed plan, but there are pitches being made. David says, congratulations. Thank you, David. Kevin says, congrats, Tom. When you get your home, it would only be fitting. We get a tweet with a picture of everything on the table. Yes, Kevin. Yes. That's just going to be a thing. Everything will be on the table. You'll have a feed in the corner right there, just of a load of things on the table. Like, there's some random stuff here. There's a red panda on the table. There's a random red panda. I've got a stapler, guys. I've got a stapler. Why do I have a stapler? What possible reason is there for a stapler? That's completely ridiculous. I've got the giraffe that my partner drew for me once. That's pretty sweet. That's pretty sweet. I've got a load of season tickets there. Oh, you're going to love this one. This is my favourite everything is on the table thing. Big box of paper clips. What are they for? I don't know, but they've been here for about 4 years. Hector says, what do you think about these Twitter Rock promos? Feel like as long as it gets more eyes on the product, the WWE is happy about it. The WWE are thrilled with them and thrilled with the writing of them. Cody's pretty happy with them as well. Not that I know of, Sovic. Alan says, if you do make more of the how to become a wrestler, do the Undertaker, please. Did you watch the members only video, mate? Did you watch the members only video where I recorded how to be the Undertaker? Because I made reference to that one. Oh, I like that, Steve. I could do that. Spider-Boss says, I'm still trying to get who signed Nikita Lyons. She doesn't fit in the women's division. And Khalid says, Tom, I enjoy when you say everything is on the table. Next piece of news is on Kazuchika Okada. We're going to talk about that short afterwards, okay? The reports that Kazuchika Okada will be paid $14 million by AEW over the next 3 years are accurate, despite what I believe Dave Meltzer is clearly being told to say. Dave Meltzer is disputing it. Everyone else is saying it's true. It is true. Okada was already earning a considerable sum in Japan, but this is said to around double that number. Tony Khan sees him as a key figure that will bring in Japanese and global markets going forwards, and the reason that he's been put with the Young Bucks is so that he's immediately positioned at the top of the card. This is something that Okada wanted, and this is something that the Young Bucks wanted. It does mean we're on the fast track when he's ready to Omega's return, going directly against Okada. Okada is, as we all know, Dave Meltzer's wet dream. Triple H never made a play for Okada. He never made any effort to bring Okada in. There was apparently an approach from someone representing Okada to the WWE, but the overall offer from WWE was low and not believed to be particularly serious. This is fairly normal. It doesn't actually suggest that Okada even wanted the WWE. It may be that he just wanted someone to put feelers out and see how much money he could feasibly expect. The rumour that Triple H was reheating Shinsuke Nakamura to attract Kazuchika Okada back to the company, was entirely false. At no point was it ever true. And those that pushed it were essentially just inflating Okada's eventual asking price. Wrestling journalists reacting negatively to the amount that Okada is being paid have only themselves to blame because they are guilty of inflating that price tag. Erase, thank you very kindly for subscribing on the YouTube side. If you are checking these videos out regularly, why not hit subscribe, and we'll be sure to see you every single week. We do these shows twice a week, Mondays and Fridays, and we also do plenty of shows during the week. For the weekend we have WTF Wrestling, for the week we have PLE Wednesdays, and plenty more for you to sink your teeth into. So that's the Okada news. Next up, we're going to talk about that short, and then we're going to talk about Mercedes money, okay? We're going to talk about that short. I'm not going to hide from it. Andrew says it's going to be an interesting month for me as well. It's my birthday at the end of the month. Next month, start of April, I'm visiting Blackpool on a day out with my family and going with my mates for WrestleMania 40. I hope you have a great time, mate. I can't rate Blackpool. I live there. I'm sick of the place. But you have a great time. Thane says, will AJ Styles be having a match at WrestleMania 40? Yes, he will. He raises here for Bray Wyatt. If you'd like to see the Bray Wyatt Hall of Fame news and the Alexa Bliss Bray Wyatt news, by all means pop back to the beginning of the stream. It is all there, ready for you. Alyssa says, Paul Heyman deserves the headline Hall of Fame. Nothing against Bray Wyatt. Bloodline, biggest story in history. Right deserves headlines. Save him next year, so cover game 2K25 Paul Heyman, your headline. KJ says, is over 4 mil too high or a good number in your opinion? It's not that simple. Let's say I had £10. Spending £1 to get dinner, pretty good deal. Let's say I had £1. Spending £1 to get dinner is not a good deal. It's not as simple as saying this is good value for money or not. HCard says, do you think Christopher Daniels' contract might expire when he comes to WWE? Thought he'd already left. Bailey says, will Mercedes offer equal or exceed Okada's offer? More on that very shortly. It's my next piece of news. Razar says, that's a lot of money for Okada. Wonder if there's people on the AEW roster mad about it. Sean says, do you think the build to this year's Roman versus Cody match has been better than last year's? No, I think it's been a lot worse because it's all about The Rock. Michael, bit of a Freudian slip there. Is it next Wednesday, Yeet? Yeet is on Mondays. Spiderbell says Mercedes Money talking about how she deals with fans on social media was really good. Fans on social media have always found a way to complain about her. Age says the short of becoming The Rock is awesome. I'm glad people are enjoying it. KJ says I wish AEW fans would hear this because AEW fans always get off whenever it's said by some dirt sheet how WWE is interested in, and they go to AEW. Mercedes, Purrazzo, Camille, Ospreay, Ibushi, Okada. Ibushi, Mercedes, Deonna Purrazzo all had WWE interest. Aled not as of yet. Andrew says WrestleVotes have tweeted next week's SmackDown there is talk of the Rock concert returning, which would mean, as aforementioned, we see more of The Rock than not of The Rock in the build to WrestleMania. Kelly says when Alexa Bliss returns I'll definitely be watching. Big fan of her since she won the title. And Kevin says so far Io Sky vs Bayley is built better than Rhea vs Becky. Yes, because they've been building it since May and Becky vs Rhea has been built since January. Okay guys, it's time to talk about it. We have 75 people watching and 49 likes. Give me one more, let's get to that 50. How would I describe this one? So as I mentioned on Monday's show, I was intending to try and make a viral short. And by this I don't necessarily mean a short that will go boom. I mean a short that people can continue to enjoy weeks, months, years in the future. So content that feeds other content. Shorts that people can keep going back to instead of watching it and then immediately just dying a sharp death. I can't say it was successful. Most people apparently scrolled immediately, couldn't care less, just immediately skipped it. Which is a shame. But not a surprise. I do think I'll make more. I think they're good. I enjoyed making it. And the feedback from you guys has been fantastic. If you have seen the short on how to be The Rock, can you let me know if you enjoyed it? Because it seems like a lot of people didn't. Kind of disheartening. Yeah, a lot of people just didn't seem to enjoy that one. Spider-Man says SmackDown became again The Rock's show. I kind of get why Roman has been angry. HCar says he should do a short of becoming Stone Cold Steve Austin and John Cena. Maybe I'll get a bald cap. That works. Steve Austin's easy. You just basically growl. I immediately thought of jokes which definitely you're not allowed to say, even though it is accurate. Hector says, I guess we know why Tony Khan has been letting all his contracts expire, considering we know what Okada is making. Mercedes is expected to have a high salary as well. Mark says, hope you've had a great week. Now going back to the start to watch it all. Have a good weekend, everyone. Well, when you get to this part, Mark, cheers, mate. Nice to see you. Aled says, I really enjoyed it. Ed says it was great. HCar says, I definitely enjoyed it. It was the best show ever. I won't go that far. But yeah, we'll look to continue those as and when I have ideas. And yeah, see how that goes. Alyssa says, more interested Cody Rhodes v The Rock for title 2 made title more than Roman Reigns after 4 since The Rock came back. Mercedes Money. Now, Mercedes Money debuts in AEW in 5 days. Okada and Ospreay have intentionally been debuted ahead of her to essentially clear the way and make it obvious that she is considered by AEW Tony Khan as the top name in the industry upon being debuted. The red carpet will be rolled all the way out for the CEO. Now, Mercedes did state in an interview that she intends to return to the WWE one day, but this isn't news. Regulars here already knew that information. She's said to be confident that the WWE will eventually offer what she wants, including the use of the Mercedes brand, championships, and big moments to help her grow. But only when the Mercedes brand gets bigger and bigger. Her intention in AEW is to spend the next few years becoming absolutely inescapable, so that the WWE will come in with an offer that absolutely blows AEW out of the water. She wants eyes. She doesn't care about money, she wants eyes. WWE are still technically the best option, but it's not worth having eyes if you can't support the Mercedes brand. Now, there was mention in that interview that her ankle injury could be career-ending, at least that it could have been when she had it. But this is primarily because it's an area that's already been injured several times. She does have some recurring issues with her ankle. She was, much like Randy Orton, never willing to accept the possibility that it would be the end of her career. She was simply not willing to accept that could ever happen. Sean, I'm not sure how it could be Becky Lynch, to be honest. She's not as defined as many. Spider-Boss says, ready to see Roman and The Rock make fun of Cody and Seth Rollins. I think Cody and Seth doesn't have much argument for mocking The Rock and The Rock. Mocking Roman and The Rock, I misread it. Rosar says, what do you think of The Rock's current work? I feel like the only person who thinks it's cringe. I think it's cringe, but I think it's good cringe. He feels like he's too old to be there, which he's a heel, so it works. HK, I don't know what news you want. Any news on Rey Mysterio vs Santos Escobar? They do both still exist. Roger says, you're watching boxing? Nope, because where is that boxing happening and what's my rule about watching sporting events in that area? Alex says, did Tony Khan care that she said she'll be back in WWE again one day? No, couldn't care less. He has her and that's all that really matters. A couple of last things to mention. Twitter is starting to grow again for me, which I'm very, very happy about. Now, it's been a while since Twitter has actually been growing, and you'll note that I pinned on the YouTube a link to the Twitter to keep that going. I've been stuck on about 8,700 for about 2 years now. I reached 10,000 4 years ago. Then I removed about 3,000 people that I was following, dropped to 7,000, and then got kind of stuck. Not really a surprise. So at the moment, I have 8,740, so we're gaining some momentum again. I'm very happy to see so many of you interacting with what I'm doing over there. I want to say a massive thank you to all of you. Engagement is what I'm looking for at the moment to get these going again. I'm looking at, for example, the announcement tweet for tonight's show. If I view the post analytics, it's been viewed 916 times, 57 engagements, 39 detail expands, so people who literally just click on the tweet. All you got to do, click on the tweet. That's what they want. That's what they're looking for. So if that can happen, we continue to grow. Oh, thank you, Brad. I've just seen you plugging the show. I will like and I will retweet that. Appreciate you. So that's what we're aiming for on Twitter at the moment, and we are starting to gain some serious momentum. Views are up, engagement is up, link clicks are up as well, meaning that we're feeding more traffic from Twitter to this YouTube channel. Twitter is an important part of my overall long-term strategy for the growth of this channel, and it's one of the reasons we've been growing so well over the past couple of months. So, thank you very much for the support. If you haven't already, please remember to follow on Twitter, engage with what's of interest to you, and remember, even just clicking on the tweet and reading the full thing, that's a huge benefit to this channel. Slovic says, I don't want to see diarrhea Dwayne jokes. I hope The Rock silence those crappy jokes. Spider-Bus says, I'm happy to see Mercedes going to AEW. In WWE, she wouldn't be the top star of the women's division. That's true. Michael says, Mercedes has a multi-year AEW deal. Yes, she does. Spider-Bus says, do you think the Judgment Day break up this year or they keep together? Really hard to say. Really hard to say. I wouldn't like to say anything with any sort of conclusive because I don't have that information. Kelly says, I just watched The Rock's Twitter message to Seth Rollins and Cody. Hector says, every week WWE tells us SmackDown sells out. Each week, to your knowledge, Tom, does AEW regularly sell out weekly programming or no? No. But it's not the same thing. They are very different brands. Kervin says, Mercedes money AEW, Tony Khan needs to make AEW women's division better. Storyline 2 matches, dynamite. Juan says, thank you, Tom, for not being biased on your reporting. Really appreciate it. That genuinely means a lot to me. I appreciate that people are spotting that. I try my best to avoid the clickbait, avoid the bias, and avoid the agenda journalism. So I appreciate when people say that. Zane says, Mercedes money won't get my eyes watching her. I have no interest in her. She's okay with that. Jack says, no, AEW can't even sell out their own home arena of 4,000. They never do over 3,000 in their home arena. Give them time. They're getting their momentum back at the moment. Thank you, Dan. Appreciate it. HCAR also retweeted spoiler warning with a quote, don't miss spoiler warning. And I know that, Zane. I just don't care. Last thing. Just a quick thing. Whole lot of people are being whole lot of racists against Bianca Belair because she is on the cover of 2K24. They apparently didn't realise until they'd already bought the game. Now, I have one simple statement to make as regards that. To the racists. Fuck off. She deserved it. I think that's everything I wanted to say. I've avoided saying this. I've avoided reacting to a lot of certain things in the chat, which I will now react to is at the end of the show. Kevin says, RIP Akira Toriyama, the person who created the Dragon Ball series. I know that not everyone here will have watched Dragon Ball. What I will say, as I tweeted earlier, I didn't have a lot of male role models growing up. I had a series of really bad stepdads who were increasingly horrible, which makes it all the more awkward that I'm now a stepdad myself. So I didn't want to learn from them. There are not many real male role models I had growing up, so I didn't want to learn from any of them. I chose to learn from Vegeta. So if you're a Dragon Ball Z fan, Vegeta was my guy. And he still is. And he still is. Funny, I don't like it. We have been live for the hour. We have covered plenty of news. We are going to wrap up there. I want to say a massive thank you to all of you for joining us for another spoiler warning. In the meantime, I'm Tom Colohue. You've been fantastic, and I'll see you all very soon.